Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another live iThemes training event. My name is Nathan Ingram. I am the host here at iThemes Training, and I'm joined today by Amanda Gorman, who is the Director of Customer Success at GiveWP, and Kathy Zant, who's the Director of Marketing at Cadence WP. How are you ladies doing today?
Doing great. Happy to be here.
Yeah, excited to be here.
Absolutely. So we have a lot to cover today. We've been talking in the pre-show about this, this new combination of Cadence and Give and the power that it can bring to those who are in a nonprofit and want to have a great experience for their clients or their constituency as they're giving online, as well as, it's the ability to use Cadence in a whole new way. So would one of you like to just give us an idea of where we're going to head over the next hour or so?
Sure. Well, we're part of Stellar WP, so there's a number of different plugins, and Cadence is like the main theme, but there's a number of different brands across Stellar. And the great thing about that is that we get to collaborate. What kinds of problems are Give customers seeing, and what kinds of needs do Cadence customers have? And being able to blend these solutions together in order to provide solutions for everybody who's creating websites for others, or a nonprofit that's just like starting out and wanting to know the best way to start using Give and WordPress. We are just delighted to be able to bring these things together. So today we are really excited to show you a project that the Give team and the Cadence team have been working on together to leverage the power of both of these tools in order to create something that makes building a website for a nonprofit super easy. So we're excited to show you all of this stuff, but we also want to talk about some of the solutions that we're creating and why they are the way they are. So, and I'm not going to speak for Give, so that's why Amanda's here, because she knows the Give customers like no one, right, Amanda?
That's right. My team and I have the privilege of working with nonprofits every day, helping them get onboarded with GiveWP and make sure that our renewal folks that are continuing to use Give year over year have a really in-depth knowledge of all the new features that we're releasing constantly, and these cross collaboration opportunities that we have across Stellar WP. So I know that even just a year ago, I was super excited to look forward to what was going to happen with some of these collaborations. And now to see it coming into fruition is just really awesome.
It really is. And so all of us, iThemes, Cadence, and Give are all members of the Stellar WP brand. If you're not familiar with Stellar, just go to stellarwp.com. You can learn about all of those brands under the Stellar umbrella. And just a few housekeeping notes as we get started. I'm really excited about this because whether you're coming from the iThemes side as one of our regular audience members, or the Cadence side, or the Give side, you're going to see a really helpful integration of two very powerful tools. So I think coming out of this, we'll all have learned some new things. This is a live webinar, unless you're watching this on the replay. And then, of course, it's a recorded webinar. But if you're on live with us, you have the opportunity to ask questions to these two experts. So we'll be taking questions throughout. Please use the Q&A feature that is down in the Zoom menu bar, so you can pop that open. And I would encourage you to do that now, because you'll have the ability to upvote the questions of others. And we'll be taking questions perhaps throughout. We'll kind of see how it goes, but certainly at the end, we'll have an extended time of Q&A to make sure all the questions are answered, or as many as we can get to in our time. But if you upvote the other questions, that lets us know to give those questions priority. So please use the chat to interact with each other. I'll be sharing some links there in just a minute as well, and use the Q&A to ask questions that you'd like for the panel to answer. One last note, this is being recorded, and the chat log, as well as the video replay and the transcript, will be available after we wrap up today, probably a few hours after we finish. And I'll be giving the links to all those in the chat here in just a minute. So if you want to share this with someone else, you'll be able to do that using the replay link that I'll give momentarily. So with that, I'm going to disappear and let the experts take over. Ladies.
Thank you, Nathan, so much. You're an amazing host, and definitely the success of iThemes training is totally visible because of the work that you do here, and we're delighted to be here. Amanda, I'm going to turn it over to you, because I would really like to talk about what is Give and just the amazing tools that you have available for nonprofits. Can you give just like an overview of what Give is, how people can install it, maybe some of the benefits of the free plugin versus the paid options? Just like an overview.
Yeah, that sounds great. So GiveWP is, of course, a WordPress plugin for donations. So folks can utilize Give for lots of different purposes, though. So I do get the question a lot, is it only for nonprofits? And it's not. It is geared for nonprofits, but I see a lot of people using it for any sort of fundraising online, which might involve something like a tip jar, like for artists or musicians that just want to collect some donations or just some support for the work that they're doing in the world, but they're not officially a registered nonprofit. We don't require you to be a registered nonprofit to use our software, though a lot of tools are available to our nonprofit folks that need to provide tax deductible receipting and accept recurring donations and utilize benefits to communicate with donors in some really customizable ways, because you can create as many campaigns as you want to. And that allows you to really get specific with how you're creating dynamic landing pages, maybe for an event or for a general appeal or for something else that's really specific to your organization. So there's a lot of opportunity to create these different kinds of initiatives and gain the interest of your donors and kind of direct them across your website as you need to with all of our different tools. And people can get started with the free plugin to accept one-time donations with PayPal or Stripe, and that can be a really quick process. Give is really accessible. If you're familiar with WordPress, you can really get in there quickly. And for our agency folks, it's really easy to get a site spun up for a nonprofit to show them the power of Give and then build on that foundation with the add-ons and plans that we offer, that kind of up-level things.
That is amazing. That's great. Yeah, I've been watching Give for years, just in terms of just the reception that the nonprofit community as a whole, even beyond WordPress, has to Give, and the options that you have available has been amazing. The growth that your organization has seen. Even before you guys were a part of Stellar WP, before I was part of Stellar WP, I could see how well connected you guys are with people who are looking to fund everything from an art project to medical treatments to an organization that's trying to do worldwide good, and Give has just been there all along the way, serving these types of communities. What kinds of are there any kind of unique problems that maybe a nonprofit or someone who's looking to collect donations has, that when they're starting to get building a website, and obviously there's things like, like these big sites like GoFundMe and things like that. Why would somebody want to, first of all, have a WordPress site with Give versus one of those like hosted platforms? And then do people have challenges with WordPress? So I guess a double question there.
Yeah, it's a great question. And we do have a lot of folks that come to us after exploring a lot of those other options. And usually they're coming to us because they're at a point in their organization that they need something more solid, that they can build from a solid foundation. Because a lot of these other websites and tools that you take your data and you take your donors to a different location that wouldn't be something that you own, like your own WordPress website, you're not in control over the donor data, you're not in control over the donor experience. And even just something simple as receipting can get really complicated and confusing. Sure. Because donors want to have a really transparent experience with nonprofits. It's important to curate that experience and to build something that is going to deeply connect with them on an emotional level and on a very intellectual level, where they can trust that the person that they're donating to or the organization they're donating to is reputable and they put a lot of care and intention into their campaign. And a lot of the other kind of resources that are out there, like fundraising on Facebook or GoFundMe, those can be in addition to a website. And then you can kind of see how things land if you're uncertain of where your donor base is. Because there might be benefits to those solutions. But in my opinion, bringing people over to your website is what you actually want at the end of the day. You're wanting your donor to experience that curated experience on your website that you control, and then you can communicate with them for the long term. Because if you don't have that contact information, even just the contact information from your donors, or the ability to customize how the receipting works after they donate, the longevity of your donations might be impacted. And if somebody is willing to donate one time, they're probably going to be willing to donate again. So being able to kind of really cultivate those relationships is super important, and doing it on your own website is crucial.
Totally. I'm totally with you there. It's really the technologies that we have available to us are really about connecting people and about establishing those kinds of relationships. And while it might seem at first easy to farm it out to a third party website where everything's sort of invisible to you, it might seem easier that way. You really lose out on creating those important connections. So that's definitely a great point. Do these nonprofits, or even somebody who's like, maybe they're going through a medical situation and they want to put up a site for donations, are there specific challenges that they might have with like just deciding on a design, deciding on which way to go?
Absolutely. I think decision fatigue is definitely a common occurrence in the very beginning stages, especially for folks that don't have a developer, or maybe have a developer, but they're doing pro bono work. Somebody that's on their board, a volunteer that only has so much time to invest in learning a new tool.
Yeah.
So it really depends on the level of expertise they have, the experience they have with WordPress. And usually somebody on the board or a volunteer has some experience with WordPress and they know they want to go in that direction, but they don't always necessarily know where to begin. So that's where we come into play in really great onboarding experiences and tools like Cadence and like iThemes that provide excellent hosting services, all these different opportunities to build a website from the ground up. You've got to have a good team of plugins and services to work with that you can trust, and then ask questions to, and, invest in the resources that are available.
Exactly. Definitely. Yeah. It's just, you know what you want to do, but just like trying to envision that. The worst thing to me is when I'm starting a site is that blank page. Like, okay, I know what I need to do here, but where do I start? You might want to go like look at competitive or people who have done this type of thing in the past and see, like, what does their stuff look like and what might be working there. But then how do you really get started? And one of the benefits that I think Cadence has really brought to the forefront is the ability to hit the ground running, especially with like some of the starter templates. And there's a number of starter templates that are specific to Give. So have you seen anybody like coming into customer support that started with a starter template, and how has that experience been?
Yeah, I have. And I've guided people to that experience in a lot of cases, because some folks that come to us in our inbox looking to get started with the free version of Give are just new to WordPress. They know they want to get started and they have a specific campaign with a really tight deadline, like they need to get it done by next weekend. And the starter templates are such a nice tool to point them towards, to say, this is really all you need to get a landing page up and running. Because at the end of the day, they need to be able to accept donations right there on a page. And Cadence has really put things together to be able to make that happen. And it's then giving them an opportunity to have that solid foundation that we talked about to then grow from, because there's always more tweaking that can be made, customization that can be made. But the templates themselves can really be adapted to pretty much anyone's branding to really create something beautiful to get started with.
That's true. That's so true. Yeah, I'm going to just start diving in. And since we're starting to talk about starter templates, I'm going to talk about the starter templates that we have available on the Cadence side. Just to kind of give you an idea, if you just go to Kadence WP, up at the top, you'll see a link for starter templates, and that will take you to this page. And if you click on nonprofit, you can see some of the starter templates that are available to anyone who wants to get started with Give. Each one of these has the ability to just hit the ground running. And I can give you a quick overview of how that actually happens. Let me make sure that the site is not already, okay, yeah, this is just a generic site. I've got Cadence installed on it, Cadence blocks installed on it. I've got Give installed on it, but we don't have any design. You can go here. First, you'll want to add the Cadence starter template plugin, which is freely available in the repo, just like Give is. And you can just install that starter template plugin, and that will give you Cadence starter templates here. And right within your dashboard, you can go pick out whichever starter template you would like to get started with. Some of these you'll see that they're pro. So this is a Give one that was just released earlier think earlier yesterday. Boy, this week is going by so fast. This one is for a filmmaker that maybe wants to collect donations for specific projects that they're working on, documentary perhaps. This is a pro one, but you see here that Give is a required plugin. If you don't have Give installed on your site, it will automatically pull it in, and you can just click full site here and you can get started with that particular starter template. There's a few other ones. Here's another pro one that uses Give as well. This is for a cancer fund. And I think October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I think that's one of the reasons we launched it right now. And so you can just go ahead, click the full site, or if you had a single page that you wanted to import, because this is a full site. This isn't just like a page. This is the full site. So if you're just getting started with Give, with WordPress, you can go ahead and just start out with an entire site. So if you go Cadence starter templates is with a basic WordPress install, just put that Cadence theme on there and the Cadence starter template plugin. Go ahead and install an entire site, and then you can customize that all together. And when Give started talking about doing sort of your own pages, donation pages, we started talking a little bit about using Kadence Cloud. And I think you were a part of some of those initial conversations. What were some of the challenges that you were seeing that you wanted to answer for the nonprofit community? And how did that conversation transpire?
Yeah, that's a great question, because there's a lot of different ways that people can come at this, whether they are starting from the very beginning where they need a full site, and these templates that you just were demonstrating are perfect for that. And then there's other opportunities where there's just going to be a new event that's coming up for a nonprofit, a new opportunity for a new campaign that they want to run. And there's specific tools that they might not know are available to them if it's not surfaced within the design library or within the actual tools of building a website. So we wanted to really surface those tools, like displaying goal bars and our donation form grid and the donor wall, and putting those together in a way that we really love to see out in the wild, but I'm tending to always needing to guide people towards. And I think that that is just a felt need in the community that I saw a lot of people in the chat saying that there's a restriction on time in most cases when taking into consideration all the different things that need to go into planning an event or a donation campaign that's not just online, but out there in the world where they're talking to real world people and doing all the hard things that require running a nonprofit. Some of these decisions that need to be made for actually creating pages can maybe get neglected, or, they just don't have the resources available. So we wanted to surface some of these ways of developing pages and bits of pages so that they're really easy and really accessible to create.
Yeah, exactly. So you really have your finger on the pulse of what your clients really need. And the great thing is, when we started talking about doing this and what can Cadence do in order to support these individuals and these organizations who want to create these kinds of pages, I had been just really diving in deep on Kadence Cloud and all the power there. And I'm like, this solves the problem. So this is one of the benefits of working with Give, of working with Cadence, because we are part of Stellar and we see all sorts of different implementations of WordPress. And so when we see one thing happening, we can bring it to another one of our brands, like the Cadence Give collaboration that you're seeing here. So let's dive into it. Let's take a look at what exactly we did. I'll talk a little bit about Kadence Cloud and how that works, but I want to kind of, let's show off what the Give Cloud is all about. So, hey, this page just launched. Amanda, did you even know that this page just launched? Like, within the hour.
Brand new.
This is fresh and brand new, and we will we'll share the link in the chat just momentarily. This is where it's going to start for anyone who's a nonprofit that wants to leverage the Give Cloud. All they have to do, because what we'll have to do is be able to send you a connection link and a connection key to basically connect your website to the Give Cloud so that you can start downloading some of these designs. So you'll have to sign up in order for you to get that information emailed to you. And basically, here's the goal. Here's what we're trying to do. We want you to be able to build a gorgeous donation page in seconds, not hours. So these are some of the designs that are available as we're launching the Give Cloud. We've got some countdown blocks, and we've got some donor blocks that basically highlight some of the key donors. So there's that social proof. Amanda, can you talk through some of the decisions that you made in terms of the things that you wanted to show as a part of Cadence, as a part of the Give Kadence Cloud? Some of the different pieces that exist here and why those were chosen?
For sure. Yeah. I mean, right in this little screenshot here, you can see the donor wall, our donation form grid, and the goal bar. And these are all elements that can be displayed in addition to our forms. The goal bar, for example, can be displayed in a short code or in a block. So you can kind of take that goal bar as a representation of a single donation form or of multiple different donation forms if you've got lots of campaigns that you want to have a collective goal towards. And I find that a lot of times people don't know that they can do that until my team or our support team are telling people that that's an option. Because it is available within the plugin settings, but you kind of have to dig in and kind of know that it's available to you. And these are the most common features that folks are wanting to utilize to build a dynamic donation landing page. And I find that the most successful donation landing pages include a lot of these elements, rather than some folks that I might jump on an audit with to determine how well they're using the plugin, where they just have a form on a blank page. There's not too much going on there. So a lot of these elements can help make a page feel more put together and more homey, and something that's actually going to drive action.
Okay, great. All right. So this is the landing page that you would go to if you want to request access to the cloud, to the Give Cloud library. That gets you started. What I want to show you, though, really is what Give has done here and how this works. Because it's not like you're going to just like, okay, build out this page. If you like something on, let's say, this particular screenshot, say you really like the way the layout with the countdown is at the top, but you'd like to also take a piece down here with the progress bar, or you want to take a piece over here with these cool images that you can, these are royalty-free images, but you can pop in your own. Obviously, you probably want to if you have a medical site, and you probably don't want a whale. So these are all customizable, but they get you started, and these are mix and match. So it's kind of like, gosh, there was this clothing line back when maybe I was a kid called Garanimals, and it was like, you could pick like these, like all of the clothes that had these mix and match types of things. So you could pick like some clothes that match with other clothes. These are like mix and match types of things. And the great thing about the way Cadence works is that, yes, you see some greens on here because that goes with the Give branding. But once you're using Cadence, you can pull in one of these blocks and it is going to inherit from your theme's design, which is just the coolest because you don't have to go change colors. As long as you're using Cadence and you have your brand set up, it's going to inherit from you. So let's take a look at, first of all, I'm just going to give you a real high overview of how the cloud library is set up. And this is intended more for people who are like maybe using Cadence, an agency who's using Cadence to develop like groups of blocks. And you would like to do something like this, where you'd like to create your own cloud library that you can use across multiple sites. Or maybe you want to create a cloud library that many of your customers can use, or maybe you want to create a cloud library that, you have some things that you're giving away for free and other things where you want to like have a set of blocks that you can charge for. All of that is possible with Kadence Cloud. So what Give did is they set out a subdomain here, cloud.givewp.com. And this is just a general WordPress installation on which they have, first of all, you have to have, like if you're going to be using for example, we're using lots of Give items here. We need to have Give installed in order that we can design those elements and pull them in. And then you need Cadence blocks installed because you're going to be pulling in Cadence blocks, but you can also pull in Gutenberg blocks. And then you need the Cloud Library plugin. I can get a quick overview of what plugins we have installed over here. So we've got Cadence Blocks Pro, but you don't have to use like the pro elements of the blocks. You can just use the free elements of the blocks, but you are going to need the Cadence Cloud to be installed, because that's where you're going to set up all of these elements. So instead of setting up, like if you're using Gutenberg with WordPress and you set up a page or a post and you start designing blocks, if you just set them up in your cloud library, then that will be accessible externally. And I don't want to give away all of the settings and whatnot for Give, since that is somewhat of a security thing. So I will do this on this demo site. So if you go under the Cloud Library plugin settings, you go to settings, you have access keys. So you'll have a connection URL. For Give, it's cloud.givewp.com. That's the connection URL. And then there's this access key. And you could generate as many keys as you want. Let's say you want to sell them. You'll need an additional plugin, and there's some additional resources on the Cadence site that will show you how to set up selling those. But you can have different access keys in order to access this cloud library. Then when you have a customer, for example, coming in saying, I would like to access this cloud library, you give them the connection URL and an access key, and they get access to everything that is within that particular cloud library. Let's go back to Give and we'll see what they have set up. And of course, you can have multiple cloud libraries. So like if you wanted to set up a cloud library that's specific for medical nonprofits, or one that's specific to, environmental nonprofits, you could have many different cloud libraries all hosted within the same installation. So basically what ends up happening is you just add a new element to the cloud library as if you are adding a specific page, but this is only going to be a grouping of blocks. And you would go ahead and set all of that up and then just publish it like you would have a page. But this is just a small grouping of specific things. We'll take a quick look at this. We're not going to make any changes. And this is just using Cadence blocks. You can take a look at a little of how these were structured with row layouts and buttons and whatnot. So these are kind of nested in, and they're just, I'm squishing everything. So let's unsquish things. Just part of the problem of having everything very large. So you see, these are all designed. They are designed with the green theme of this cloud layout. So that's what you'll see on the cloud installation. But now if we go over to another site, let's go over to the starter site that we were looking at. And let's take first a quick look at the customizer for Cadence. And I want to just show you the colors and fonts. So this is the color palette that's been set up for this particular site. You don't see a bit of green in here, but what we're going to do is we are going to connect to the Cadence GiveWP cloud. And we do that by going into a post or a page, and you'll see this up at the top with the design library. And we will click this plus sign here, and it will ask for that cloud.givewp. This would be something that comes in your email. And I'm going to stop sharing for a second so that I can pull in that connection key without giving it out, because I want you guys to go and go get that from the actual cloud itself, from the Give cloud. And I need to go find it myself. I did have it connected, but I wanted to show you how it gets connected. And then you click add connection on there. Then I'll go back to share. I think this is the right screen. Okay, here you see now I have the GiveWP template cloud right there, and you'll also see it that it's been added up here. So we can go into that GiveWP template cloud, and all of these elements that we saw on the cloud installation are now available to this particular website. So let's say this is Kathy's website, and I'm going to select, I'm going to have an event that is going to be for an animal shelter. So I have all of these elements here where I can now set up a gala for an animal shelter. I can pull in a header image here. So it will just pull that into the page, and I can customize all of this content. I can make things smaller. I could do whatever I'd like here. And then let's say underneath that, I would like to pull in the donors. And you see that that gets pulled in underneath, and it was supposed to inherit the blue. Maybe I need maybe different site. Anyway, if you have, it's probably because the site doesn't have a theme set up, but it will pull in the colors. If you have it set in the customizer with Cadence and you have your theme all established, it will pull in the correct colors. Let me make sure. It worked on my test yesterday, but I think I wiped out too much. Yeah, it's pulling in the greens now. Okay. I will double check and make sure that we're going to do things that way. Obviously, this is just a preview. We'll want to set this up so that we are perhaps not using the header. I have to remember where that is. Live demo. Here we are.
You've got
Anyway.
this. You're doing great.
So you can turn off headers and Cadence, all of that fun stuff. Anyway, what you're seeing though is that you can start pulling in content specific to or from the Give site, and then you can customize this and make it specific for your particular site. So we would have to do some customization with our headers to make sure that this particular page is not using headers. So yeah, I don't want to go that deep into things, but you get the general gist that you can start pulling in elements from that particular site. And you'll probably want to make sure that you don't have anything else installed on that particular page. Make sure that you are setting up your structure so that you have your pages set up correctly. And this is probably because I did it on a post, didn't I, rather than a page. And pages are probably easier. But once you have it connected to that design library, you can start basically building things out based upon however you want something to be laid out. You can go ahead and change images, replace them with whatever you have in your media library, which I may or may not have anything in here. But you see here that the images that we have now in this very blank page test site, these are images that are being pulled into the Give Cloud. So once you have that Give Cloud set up and you are pulling in from that particular design library, you are pulling all of that into your site. So all of those pages, all of the images that are supporting those pages, everything is coming down into your site. You are not going to be referencing back to the Give Cloud. It's all going to be pulled down into your site. So then you have the ultimate control of that site. It's not going to be referring back to the Give site. That's just there as sort of some design library templates that you can work with. Now, the other cool thing is you're not just locked into using the Give templates. There are some things that come with Cadence. So if you look at some of the sections that exist for the Cadence design library and the starter packs, all of these things are available to you as well. So if there is a design element that is maybe something that's not specific to a nonprofit. Let's say you really want to add this pricing information table down here for whatever reason, you can pull that in, or a contact form, or any of these other elements, testimonials or hero images, things like that. And then if there's a starter pack that exists and you have access to it, if you are a pro user, they'll show you here that it is a pro element. But if you are using Cadence, and let's say, for example, you saw one of the Give specific starter packs that you wanted to use, one of these perhaps, and let's say there was a particular donor dashboard or donation confirmation page that you wanted to use from one of those starter templates, you can take just that page if that's going to work for you. So this is the way that Kadence Cloud gives you all of the tools that you need in order to build out a nonprofit website or a nonprofit page, whether you're using the starter templates or whether you're using the Give library and you just want to pull in the countdown block or the donation form or some of these other very specific elements that are specific to the Give plugin. As long as you have Give installed and you have Cadence blocks installed, you can pull in any of these things. And as far as I know, and Amanda, you may need to correct me if I am wrong, this is just the start of what Give is going to do in terms of the elements that are going to be available to nonprofits with some of these bits and pieces that are going to go into the Give Cloud. As new needs come up, you're going to be designing new elements to come forward for Give.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these are really the most prioritized elements because a lot of folks are utilizing Give for events and need some little extra handholding or some ideas for how that can really come into fruition on their donation page. And then there's going to be a lot of other use cases. I would love to see something like a tip jar or more like a crowdfunding sort of template, and peer-to-peer specifically is going to definitely be introduced in that as we continue to customize how that can be presented on a website. So I'm always excited to see how people are utilizing GiveWP out in the wild, and that helps influence how we're recommending, how others can also utilize it.
Excellent. That is such great news. Nathan, do we have any questions? I feel like I've been talking a long time. Are there any questions that we can answer?
Yeah, we have a few questions that have popped in, and the first one here is from Camber. And by the way, folks, if you have a question you'd like to ask, just pop open that Q&A box and ask it now, and we'll get those over to Kathy and Amanda. Camber wanted to know, do you think it's important to have a site just in case the other fundraising efforts through platforms like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, etc., go down? I guess that's a question for Amanda.
Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and that's really where you're going to have that sense of foundation and safety comes with that, right? So being able to have your own WordPress website that you're responsible for with a solid hosting provider, with solid security, with all the things that you are able to maintain and really prioritize focusing on, you don't necessarily need to worry about Facebook going down and then it's the day of your campaign and nobody can donate on Facebook or GoFundMe. Let alone the fees that you're paying to those companies, by the way.
Yeah.
So I think that that's a great question and definitely a great consideration.
Yeah, for sure. And even not so much that they're going, like the network itself goes down, because good grief, if Facebook or Twitter go down, that's like a, earth shattering event. But like just over the weekend, I was reading how, I believe it was a nonprofit, it may have been a business instance, but I'm thinking it was a nonprofit Facebook page, for example, was flagged as inappropriate and taken down. And trying to get that back up is a really complicated process.
For
Definitely.
sure. And we've definitely had folks that have leaned on platforms like that for really big events. And then had people that just don't necessarily know how to navigate the platform, or they don't necessarily trust the platform as well, because you're going to be reaching a broad range of donors and not everybody necessarily wants to be on social media, especially for donating money.
Yeah, absolutely. Another question here from Manu. What would you say, Amanda, is the trend of websites versus social media? Do you see more nonprofits primarily on their own websites, or people moving towards social media exclusively? Can you speak to that?
I really think it has to be a both and. You've got to be on social media as a nonprofit or as a business generally to get people to come to your door, right? Which is your website. But your website should be the place that you're directing your donors, in my opinion, because of what we've all talked about already. And I just think that you have more longevity coming to your organization when you're promoting people going to your website, where you can put people in drip campaigns, encourage recurring donation over time, communicate with donors that used to donate in the past but don't donate anymore. There's so many insights and reporting that comes from owning your own donation data that you just simply don't get from social media. But social media is certainly something that can play a role alongside your website's campaign. So I do get this question a lot of, how does GiveWP integrate with social media? And it's just however your website integrates with social media. How are you calling people to your website, in your stories, in your posts, in your conversations with people? You have to have a place to send people, and that should be your website.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for years, just on the agency side in my work, we've talked about how you have to own your platform, and your website is the hub for all the channels of social media that you use. And if you're a nonprofit, GiveWP is just, there's nothing better in WordPress to do that job, in my opinion. I've got a couple of questions myself. So, Kathy, earlier you showed how to connect to Kadence Cloud. You kind of showed some of the back end of setting up your own cloud. Do I have to do that to connect to the GiveWP cloud?
To connect to the GiveWP cloud, all you have to do is have Cadence blocks installed. And then you have to have the URL, which is just going to be cloud.givewp.com. And then you'll have to have the connection key. So when you sign up, that connection key will be sent to you. So once you have those types of things, you just go into a page or a post, and you'll just enter that in. You'll see on the top, you'll see design library. You click that and then see the plus sign. And then you put in the location of the cloud you're connecting to, and then you can put the connection key, and boom, then you have access to all of the Give Cloud items, as well as the starter templates from Cadence, all of the little bits that are in the Kadence Cloud, and all of the wireframes and everything else that Cadence offers. But this is an addition that gives nonprofits the ability to really hit the ground running with Give.
Yeah, very good. So I'm dropping a couple of links in the chat, and I apologize. I have pasted superfluously in the chat and sometimes incorrectly throughout this webinar, and I apologize for that. But there's a link there to the GiveWP Cloud, which is the page that Kathy showed earlier. This is the place to sign up for your key that you'll need, and then you will need the Cadence blocks, which is free. You can click that link for the WordPress plugin directory listing, or just add a new plugin, search for Cadence blocks, and you're good to go. One thing that we probably should clarify is that the Cadence Cloud, Cadence blocks, is all using the block editor. So if someone is using a page builder like Elementor or Beaver Builder or one of the others, this is not going to work it's not going to integrate with the page builder itself, but you can have blocks living alongside a page builder, right?
Yeah, like if you have a site that you've built out in Elementor or Divi or Beaver Builder, and you want to leverage what Cadence offers, you can still install Cadence blocks as a plugin and then build out a specific page that just uses Cadence blocks. And Cadence blocks will give you all of the power of a page builder like Elementor or Divi. It just works differently. It works like Gutenberg, but it gives you additional blocks like the advanced text block, which allows you to customize an H2 or a headline tag within your site and add colors or add dynamic content if you're going pro with Cadence, which is a whole other thing. But you can do the advanced image block, for example, and let's say you wanted to do a specific shape around an image, but you don't have Photoshop and you're not going to be able to do that. You can add a filter to your images using Cadence, all part of the free plugin. There's a bunch of other blocks. The Lottie block is one that I'm seeing a lot of people very excited about because it allows you to do animations on your site. Like if you wanted fancy arrow that had some motion associated to it to point over to your donation form. The Lottie block connected with Lottie files, which are very, very low weight in terms of the size of the file animations. You don't have this like huge GIF or GIF that's doing all of the animation. These things are super light, super effective, a technology developed by Airbnb. The Lottie block file that is, or the Lottie block that is in Cadence that connects to things like lottiefiles.com, where all the free Lottie images are. Cool, free way to add all kinds of animation and cool things. There's so much innovation that's happening with block providers like Kadence blocks. It's just exciting to see. I feel like we're kind of in a brave new world with building sites with WordPress, because you can have like a number of different block plugins all on the same page. Whereas with the page builders, like you want to build this page with Elementor, okay, it's Elementor. You can't use any of the innovations that are happening with some of these low weight, very, very fast and accessible tools like what Kadence Plots offers.
Great. Here's a good question from Sue, I think, Amanda, for you. On the GiveWP side, if you were a web developer and let's say you're serving lots of nonprofits, is there a dashboard where you can manage licenses for all of your client sites, or how would that scenario work?
Yeah, so the dashboard is going to be the same essentially for everybody, whether you have one license or you have multiple licenses. And there are a couple there's two approaches for our agency folks that we recommend. The first is, in Sue's case, it seems that this would be the best, is to manage all the licenses for your customers, for your clients. So that would mean that you would have one GiveWP account that would probably be under your name, Sue. And then you would log into that givewp.com account. You'd have, say, 5 licenses associated, and each license would be tied to each one of your clients. If you wanted to then bring those licenses into their own account, where maybe the next year you want them to renew under their own payment method, and that you want them to continue managing the subscription, then we can help you kind of manage that, because there's a lot of times where that comes to be. Otherwise, our affiliate program would be another way to go, where you have your clients sign up underneath your affiliate so that you get a little bit of a kickback, and then the client manages their subscription and their payment details. But the givewp.com account is just managing subscription, billing, and licensing. So it's not really actually impacting like the website itself. It's just the licensing.
Got it. Got it. Here's a good question from Kelly. Amanda, she's wondering, what are some other good resources for nonprofits to get help with development, tech, marketing? Do you have any good sources you could share?
That's a great question. And I believe that we have some great resources on our blog. So I'm happy to kind of dig that up and follow up. Offhand, I know there's Codable that we recommend pretty often for custom development work. Because there's some folks that want to extend GiveWP in some really fancy ways that our team just isn't able to commit that time to. But if you're looking for things more just kind of like onboarding and like getting to know the platform, you'll come to our team. And then I would just reach out to us and see what we can maybe connect you with in the WordPress community, because the WordPress community in and of itself has so many different sorts of people and resources that can tap you into somebody that's maybe looking for some work. Maybe it's volunteer or paid work.
Yeah, very good. And by the way, I've just dropped the GiveWP blog link in the chat. If you haven't checked that out and you work with nonprofits, it is a gold mine of just great ideas of ways to broaden fundraising efforts for nonprofits. It's really, really good. So take a minute if you've not seen those, and just scroll through the GiveWP blog for a bit. Let's see. All right, another question here from Sue. So it's really a payment. This question from Sue is really a payment platform issue. Sue, the question is, how do you get money to the actual nonprofit that is donated? What transaction platforms do you attach to?
Yeah, so GiveWP has many different payment gateways that you would connect to process secure payments. So GiveWP is kind of like the middleman that actually connects to something like Stripe or PayPal, where the payment gateway securely processes the donation, the payment over an encrypted network. And then the gateway that you're connected to, like Stripe, would then deposit that money into your account.
Yeah, so I've dropped a link down in the chat for the list of payment gateways that are there. Stripe and PayPal out of the box, right? And there are other potential ones.
Yep. Then there's like authorized.net and Square and a whole bunch of others for folks around the world, depending on what your needs are.
Yeah, very good. All right, folks. Any other questions for these ladies? And as we're waiting on any last minute questions, any takeaways that you'd like to share with the folks before we start to wrap up here?
I have a takeaway. Well, I have something else that I would like to mention, and that is how important security is when you are dealing with transactions on a website on WordPress. iTheme Security is one of the best plugins that are out. It's been around forever. It's on over 1 million sites. And they just recently added passkeys, which allows you to use biometrics in order to log into a site, which is amazing. But it also tells you if there might be a security concern on your site. It monitors the file integrity of your site, monitors any kind of vulnerabilities that might be found. If you're transacting on a WordPress site, all of that stuff that those big providers with like giant security teams might be handling. Now, this is your responsibility to ensure that you're creating a platform that's secure with secure hosting, but also iTheme Security, the free plugin, can help you start making really good security decisions. Because this isn't just your blog, you're dealing with people's information, their personally identifiable information with their transactions. Trust is such an important part of this entire thing. So take a look at iTheme Security if you haven't looked at that yet, because this is definitely another one of, and also that's part of Stellar, of course, but this is another important part of making sure that you have an effective site with Cadence, with GiveWP, and of course, making sure all of that is secured.
Yeah, very good. All right, I think we've reached the end of the questions. Amanda, any final thoughts as we're wrapping up here?
Just to say that I think as people are really diving into building their donation landing pages, maybe they have a campaign coming for Giving Tuesday, to really just take a step back and take a moment to envision what you would want that page to look like. Look at look at the others people in your industry and get that feel for inspiration, and then look at our templates that we have and see how you can really create a dynamic, beautiful landing page, because your landing page is what's going to speak to your donor and really make a difference for whoever you're supporting.
Absolutely. Well, Kathy, Amanda, thanks so much for great information today. Really good demonstration of the power of GiveWP Cloud. I'm really excited about that. We're ready to kind of play around with that myself just a bit. Really good questions from everybody as well. So I've dropped once again the link to the replay down in the chat area. If give us a couple hours to get that video up and rendered, and you'll be able to share that later on this afternoon or tomorrow morning for sure. It will also have the chat, which has had a number of resources posted throughout, as well as the transcript will be on that replay page. So with that, thanks again, Kathy, Amanda, for being with us. Thank all of you for being with us as well. I'm back tomorrow for our iThemes training or toolkit members, talking about in our Fly course, talking about proposals and contracts, and then office hours is on Thursday for members as well. So with that, have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you back here next time on iThemes training, where we go further together.